Top 10 Myths About Tiny Homes. You probably believe tiny homes have exploded in popularity with Instagram-worthy cabins, minimalist lifestyles, and YouTube tours that rack up millions of views. But behind the cozy aesthetics and viral van life reels are a ton of myths that keep most people from ever seriously considering going tiny. Here's the wild part. Many of these beliefs, they're totally false. So in this video, we're breaking down the top 10 myths about tiny homes you probably believe. And by the end, you'll see these small spaces in a very big way. Tiny homes are illegal. Almost everywhere. Let's start with the myth that keeps the dream dead before it ever begins. That tiny homes are illegal. This one gets thrown around a lot. And while zoning laws can be complicated, the reality is far more encouraging. In fact, dozens of cities and counties across the US, Canada, Australia, and Europe have been updating building codes specifically to accommodate tiny living. Some have entire communities zoned just for them. Yes, it's true that you can't drop a tiny home anywhere you please, but to say they're illegal across the board? That's like saying electric cars are banned just because they need a charging station. You can't have a real kitchen or bathroom. People imagine tiny homes as glorified campers, a hot plate, a bucket for a toilet, and maybe a dorm-sized fridge. But this couldn't be further from reality. Today's tiny homes come with full-sized appliances, tiled showers, washer-dryer combos, and full sinks, sometimes even a dishwasher. Builders have become masters of space optimization, using fold-out counters, understair storage, and smart plumbing to fit everything you need. Sure, you won't have a jacuzzi tub or a double oven, but unless you're running a restaurant or filming a shampoo commercial, a tiny home kitchen and bath can give you everything you actually use, and probably waste less water while doing it. Tiny homes are only for minimalists or hippies. There's this persistent stereotype that only barefoot hippies, off-grid survivalists, or radical minimalists live in tiny homes. It's almost like people assume you have to give up comfort, convenience, or modern life to go small. But tiny living isn't about deprivation. It's about intentional design and freedom from clutter. And these days, tiny homeowners range from tech workers in their 30s to retired couples, single moms, and even travel nurses. You don't have to wear hemp clothing or compost your own waste to enjoy a simpler lifestyle. You can't have guests or host parties. Another myth? That living tiny means living alone. People assume you'll never be able to entertain friends or have overnight guests again. But smart layouts, convertible furniture, and even outdoor expansions prove otherwise. Many tiny homes come with fold-out couches, Murphy beds, or sleeping lofts that comfortably accommodate guests. And when it comes to entertaining, outdoor living spaces are key. A fire pit, a wraparound deck, or even a screened-in porch can transform a tiny home into a gathering spot. You might not host a 200-person wedding, but game night, dinner parties, or weekend stays? Totally doable. And let's be honest, most people don't even want visitors to stay too long anyway. Tiny homes are unsafe or poorly built. People often confuse tiny homes with sheds or DIY shacks, assuming they'll fall apart in bad weather or collapse during transport. But here's the truth. A professionally built tiny home can be just as strong and safe as any standard house. Many are built to meet or exceed international residential code standards. They're hurricane-strapped, insulated, and engineered for travel if on wheels. Some even outperform traditional homes in energy efficiency and durability. Yes, if you buy a cheap kit from an unreliable source and cut corners, you'll run into problems. But reputable builders use real materials, certified plans, and strict inspections to ensure safety, often at levels people don't expect. You'll freeze in the winter or boil in the summer. Let's talk temperature. One of the biggest fears people have is that tiny homes are basically tin cans. Too cold in winter, too hot in summer. But the reality is, insulation technology has come a long way. Spray foam, mini-split systems, heated floors, and strategically placed windows make year-round comfort entirely possible. In fact, many tiny homes are easier and cheaper to heat or cool than large houses because there's less space to manage. And if your tiny home is on wheels, guess what? You can literally chase good weather. Imagine avoiding snowstorms and heat waves. just by driving away from them. That's not just comfort, that's control. You can't raise kids in a tiny home. Let's bust this one wide open. People often say tiny homes are fine for singles or couples, but impossible for families. And while it's definitely a lifestyle shift, plenty of families around the world are raising kids in tiny homes, happily and healthily. With creative use of bunk beds, lofts, sliding doors, and outdoor space, kids get the room they need without the excess. Some parents say it even brings their family closer, literally and emotionally. Of course, it's not for everyone, and it requires serious organization. But to say it can't be done, that's just not true. Kids don't need 3,000 square feet. They need love, play, and a place to call home. There's no room for storage. Where do you even put your stuff? Is the most common question tiny homeowners get. And it's also the easiest to answer. Vertical storage, underbed compartments, toe-kick drawers, foldable furniture, and even ceiling-mounted racks turn every inch of space into functional real estate. You learn to live smarter, not with less. Sure, you might not have 17 coats or 3 junk drawers anymore, but is that really a bad thing? Downsizing doesn't mean living without. It means choosing what matters. And when your home is designed to support that, storage becomes a non-issue. Tiny homes don't appreciate in value. Here's a financial myth that stops people cold: that tiny homes are a bad investment because they don't go up in value. But this isn't as black and white as it sounds. While it's true that tiny homes on wheels depreciate like vehicles, land-attached tiny homes or those in appreciating areas can absolutely gain value. And even if they don't, many tiny homes pay for themselves in just a few years through rent savings, Airbnb income, or resale. Plus, they often free up cash for other investments, like travel, education, or actual land purchases. So while they may not appreciate like a suburban home, they often make more financial sense overall. Living tiny means you're giving something up. Finally, the biggest myth of all, that tiny living means settling for less. But ask any long-term tiny homeowner, and they'll tell you the opposite. Downsizing often leads to upgrading your life. Less space forces better choices. Fewer things mean more freedom. And the best part? Many tiny homeowners report more happiness, lower stress, better relationships, and a deeper connection to what actually matters. You're not giving up a real life. You're just designing one that fits you better. Because at the end of the day, a house isn't about size. It's about how it makes you feel when you walk through the door. If even one of these busted beliefs opened your eyes to the possibilities of tiny living, hit that like button and share this with someone who still thinks smaller means lesser. And don't forget to subscribe for more myth-busting, dream-building, and practical advice on living life on your own terms, whether that's 200 square feet or 2,000. Because the truth is, sometimes less really is more. Less really is more.